So the first question is regarding the DevOps.
Okay. Yeah.
This has been more of a buzzword these
Yes,
days. That
yes.
everyone starts
Yes,
speaking
everyone
about
talks about
DevOps.
DevOps.
So what exactly is DevOps?
Okay.
Maybe you can explain in terms of how a common person who doesn't have a technical background understands about DevOps.
So I think this hype of DevOps probably started around 2009, 2010, a few years ago, when people started seeing a very fast, frequent delivery of new capabilities, new services by some of those internet, born on the net companies like Facebook, and one example that became well known was Flickr. Flickr is a picture sharing site, and you can upload your picture and you can put all additional informations, right? And the Flickr site gives you all kinds of services, right? And they, one time, they released new services like 10 times a day, 10 new releases a day. But if you look at like typical IT or banks, using IT, release cycle is very low, like once for every 6 months, right? So there is a big, gap here. What are those internet companies doing? How can they release new capabilities so often, so frequently? So that started this, hype of this DevOps. Well, the way those companies do is they don't separate the development and operations. It's all on the cloud. So the development, creating application software is done on the cloud, and deploying it and the support, running services is done on the cloud. So the building and the testing and deployment is all done on the same kind of a cloud infrastructure. And because of that, they could do this very quickly. Not only because of that, and also there are a lot of things happening behind it, like automation standard, using a lot of scripting capabilities to the automations. So that started this hype DevOps, and there's some consultant who gave this name, because what they are doing is this is a sort of combining development operations together, making this development very close to the operations. So they call it DevOps, and that created a sort of some enthusiasm in that space. So then the people started looking into this, like us, and we felt that yes, there is something interesting there. But doing this, exactly the same thing in a complex traditional enterprise environment is not that simple. So IBM, our bread and butter is really this large, complex enterprise applications. But there is also a need of having this development and the testing and delivery to be faster. So that started this interest of, at that time people called it enterprise DevOps, bringing this DevOps idea into the enterprise space. So then IBM and Rational, we looked at this space. Like obviously, this is a space that belongs to us, right? Development, testing, and we see that this is an opportunity. There is a potential of using some of the ideas to make this software delivery faster. So that's a sort of technology side. In other words, those cloud-based automation technologies. And on the other hand, there is a sort of a requirement, demand side. And as you see, these days, in the last few years, people said there is another major disruption, major wave of new, technologies being used, adopted, which some people call SMAC, right? Social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. So we see that companies, many companies, enterprise customers, companies, right, started building some services, mobile services, accessing the back-end transactions using your smartphone. So that kind of services require very, very short cycle time because competitors are doing it and you don't know what is right and what is the right set of capabilities you need. So the people will just create a initial capability and make it available and get a feedback from the users, and you do this iteration to improve the services. I think this requirement of making this services and product available in shorter time is giving an opportunity from the demand side. So there is increasing demand for this reduced cycle time, to do faster delivery, to get more feedback, to make your product and service right. And that's the requirement side, and there is the technology side. So I think this is converging to this idea of DevOps. So to some people, DevOps means making development and operations very close to each other, or maybe even the same. But what we say, Rational, IBM, is that that's just one aspect. We take a broader approach of DevOps, which is to start from the customer requirement, what customer wants to do, and make some business judgment as to whether that is a high priority and we should do it or not, and then do this development, collaboration, testing, delivery, and deploy it to that services available to the user. So this entire cycle of starting with the customer requirement until the time that customer actually use as product or services, shortening this whole cycle so that we can repeat this to make this our product and service right. We call this as an expanded scope of DevOps. So this is our view of DevOps.
Okay. And is there any criteria or something for a project to adopt DevOps into it? You say a small project or a big project, something like that?
We don't say that this project is a DevOps project, right? This is more than the single project. We are pushing many of our projects to move in that direction. So in that sense, I don't know there is any criteria that we use to say that, this is a DevOps or this is not. Or not. This is very similar to Agile. But actually, Agile is a part of this. Agile development is to make this development part to be adaptable and with a short cycle, so that you can understand. Once you deliver the code, you understand the more requirement, so you can judge whether the specification that you had was right or not. So making this development faster. So that's agile development, and the DevOps is bringing this similar concept to the entire life cycle. So to many people, this is a natural extension of the agile development. So I don't think we have any criteria that we use to say, this is a DevOps project or this is not. I think increasingly the competition, this environment requires us to move faster, do more iteration. I think everybody is facing that challenge, right?
So where do you see the future of DevOps, maybe in another 5 years down the line?
I think with DevOps, we are just starting the journey. I mean, this is a concept I mentioned, and in some areas are fairly, we have good experience, agile development, collaboration, and the cloud, using cloud. I think it's maybe still early, but we are starting this automation, we call continuous delivery. And I think we are just starting to look into early life cycle of understanding customer requirement and prioritizing, the investment decisions. That kind of space is still very early. And another area, we are looking at is that once you do this life cycle, you need to look at the previous cycle and see how well we did, where are the bottlenecks, and what are the opportunity for improvement, so that we can optimize, tune this whole process. Right. So I think this is probably going to continue. This optimization and measurement. This is a very early area. So probably some of those areas will become more mature. I think one area I see that even though we say it's a deployment, DevOps and operation side is we say operations. If we talk to the people who are doing real operations, to them this continuous deployment is only a part of this, the work they do in the operations. They do all kinds of other things, like performance tuning on the operational infrastructure. They constantly have to apply patches, right? And those people, I think this is an area where there will be a very major shift. They moving from the physical infrastructure to cloud infrastructure. So that's a very challenging space. So 5 years from now, I think what I said is it's probably in each area it's going to go through this, transformations, and this whole cycle becomes more probably evident to many people. And I think that's probably what is going to happen. Right?
Okay. So what are the tools that the IBM provides in supporting DevOps?
So I said that DevOps is a broader story, end-to-end story. So in that sense, many of the tools we offer are positioned in addressing each aspect of the DevOps story. Right, starting with this customer requirement. That's the area we have this a tool called Focal Point. Focal Point is to get various information, data, business data, business needs. In some cases, sort of high-level requirement. Some cases like your partner informations. So all kinds of those data, and you can do very detailed analysis using some metrics and reporting. So that's one area. And the second area is this development space. And probably you know that Rational's main effort is an integration platform called JAS. So with JAS, we are integrating various tools through this open service we call OSLC, open service, standard-based, APIs. So we have Rational Team Consult, which is a development tool, mostly focusing on the development. We have a requirement tool, DOORS Next, RRC, and we are increasingly bringing, DOORS Next is really a JAS-based system. RRC is already a JAS-based system. So bringing this requirement tools into this JAS platform. We have testing tools which runs on JAS platform. Testing, test plan, test management. That's RQM. And we probably we acquired a company called Urban Code, which is focused on this deployment and release management. And that's very central to this DevOps story.
Okay.
And then we do have this other Tivoli system, Tivoli tools to monitor this operational aspects, and some of the tools like metrics and other how they say sentiment analysis to see how the user actually uses a particular tool. So we have a technology there. So we are trying to just link all those so that we can address this whole lifecycle story.
So we can say something like the stack of all the IBM tools will support is part of the DevOps.
Yes. Well, most of them, I would say most of them. We have a lot. We have over 80, close to 100 tools.
Okay.
And not only IBM tools. We are realistic, right? We don't ask our customers to use only IBM tools. So we know a lot of people use open source tools, Microsoft tools, HP tools. The tool space is all heterogeneous. That's why we are using this open standard for tool integration. So we think that's very critical. Using this open standard infrastructure, people can bring their own tools, or they can use, people can use open source tools, people can use third-party tools. But I'd like to see all those tools to be integrated. Because once you have this whole life cycle, then you have to be able to, see this whole end-to-end process as your own business process. You have to be able to control, you have to be able to measure. So that's beyond a single tool. So the view of this whole life cycle from the business process perspective, that's very important.
Okay. The next question is about the acquisitions.
Okay.
Recently, IBM acquired Urban Code.
Yes.
And then there is also a lot of news saying this X company acquires Y.
Yes, you said here, Microsoft. Yes.
How do you see this for the growth of a company?
I think it's natural. I think what is happening is that, as I said, this like DevOps, this customer is increasingly under pressure to produce new product or make this new services available. This is also true for the whole industry, right? And so when the industry is moving fast, if you want to acquire new capabilities, right now it's very difficult to invest by yourself. And we used to do a lot of this, still do, the big research organization, or work with universities, and do incubation, and this technology creation takes time. And so I think it's very natural for companies to look at the existing new technology, interesting venture companies especially doing something in some space, and that may be complementary to what you have, and use this acquisition as a way to move quickly to build your business, or at least to create your presence, and that's what is happening, right?
That's all we have.
That's all you have? Okay. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, thank you.